The station announced itself before she saw it. A low vibration moved through the hull of Dr. Mara Elian's shuttle, steady and polite, like someone knocking on a door they already owned. She looked up from her console and watched as the viewport filled with light. The Imperial ring hung in space like a crown made of gold and glass. A perfect circle. Traffic lines glowed along its spine in neat rivers of white and blue. Warning beacons blinked in calm rhythm, not frantic, not urgent, controlled. Everything about it said the same thing. Order. Mara adjusted the collar of her plain grey coat. She had dressed simply on purpose. No medals. No university colours. Just a linguist with a contract. Her calm implant chimed softly in her ear. Welcome, visitor. All speech is safe. The words were warm. Below them, in faint legal text. Speech is a privilege. Mara smiled. Sure it is, she whispered. The shuttle docked. The airlock opened with a soft sigh. Inside, the corridor was white and clean. The air smelled like citrus and cold metal. Tiny lens nodes watched from every corner. They did not hide. They did not need to. A reception line waited in perfect symmetry. At the front stood a tall alien woman in silver uniform. Her skin shimmered faintly, like pearl under thin ice. Her eyes held faint rotating rings inside the irises. Slow galaxies turning. Welcome, Dr. Mara Elian of Earth, the woman said. The translator at her throat smoothed the tone into soft human English. You may proceed to the Hall of Harmonies. Please refrain from irregular phrasing. Mara tilted her head. I'll try to be very regular, she said. I left my chaos at home. The translator paused. Then it converted her words into, I am honored to comply. The alien woman's lips twitched, just slightly. She had heard the real version. The Hall of Harmonies was not a room. It was a statement. A vast dome opened above, showing stars too bright and too close, like they had been arranged for decoration. Curved rows of officials stood in silence. No whispers. No coughs. At the center stood the Queen. Queen Estra of the Imperial Ring. She looked almost human. Tall. Still. Graceful. But her skin reflected light at strange angles. And when she blinked, a second clear eyelid moved over her eye like thin glass. Visitor, the Queen said softly. Her voice carried without effort. Mara stepped forward. I am here at the request of your archives, she said. You asked for a specialist in extinct languages. A pause. Yes, the Queen said. We did. Behind the Queen, a man in ceremonial robes, the High Translator, shifted nervously. The linguistic vault has encountered resistance, he said carefully. It does not respond to approved languages. Approved languages? Mara asked. All living languages, he corrected. Ah, Mara said. So the dead ones are causing trouble. The High Translator's jaw tightened. The Queen's gaze sharpened. Follow me, Estra said. The Imperial Archive was deep inside the station's core. They descended in an elevator that had no buttons. Only a glowing strip that scanned her breathing. A sign hovered inside. Please select a permitted topic. Mara blinked. How about directions? She asked. The sign shifted. Directions are a form of influence. Please select a permitted topic. She sighed. Compliments, she said. You have a very symmetrical interior. The elevator chimed happily. They descended. Outside the transparent wall, millions of sealed data vaults floated in slow orbit. Each one marked with a redacted seal. History, locked away. At the bottom, a black oval door waited. It had no keypad. No screen. Only shallow grooves carved across its surface. Waiting. This is the sealed linguistic vault, the High Translator said. It has not opened in 300 years. Why? Mara asked. Because, he said tightly, the language it responds to does not survive. Mara stepped closer. The grooves felt familiar. Too familiar. State the approved access phrase, the translator ordered. Mara recited the ceremonial line provided in her briefing. The grooves glowed faintly, then went dark. Again, he demanded. She repeated it. Nothing. The Queen studied her. Try differently, Estra said quietly. Mara hesitated. Her implant pulsed a warning. Unrecognized phonetic pattern detected. She ignored it. The grooves were not decoration. They were sound maps. And somewhere deep in her memory, in her research, in old Forbidden Earth texts, she had seen this pattern before. Not identical, but close. Her heart pounded. This is a terrible idea, she muttered. Then she spoke. The words felt ancient and sharp. Layered. Meaning folded inside meaning. The forbidden language flowed from her tongue like it had been waiting. The door answered. Light burst through the grooves in branching lines. A low harmonic tone filled the chamber. Above the door, symbols appeared in glowing script, beautiful, complex, alive. The drone overhead froze. The High Translator went pale. That language does not survive, he whispered. Mara swallowed. It does now. The door opened. Inside was not shelves. It was a chamber with a single console at the center. Circular. Ancient. Waiting. The walls shimmered with faint moving script. This is the core interface, the Queen said. We cannot activate it, the translator said quickly. It bypasses compliance protocols. Compliance protocols? Mara asked. The system that ensures all speech remains regulated. So you censor the station itself. The translator stiffened. We maintain harmony. Mara approached the console. It glowed faintly at her presence. Speak, the Queen said softly. Not to command, she added. To ask. Mara nodded. She placed her hand near the console but did not touch. Then she spoke again in the forbidden tongue. Not an order. A greeting. The chamber vibrated. A deep voice echoed through the walls. Old. Amused. Welcome back. Everyone froze. The translator made a choking sound. You are late, the voice added calmly. Mara blinked. Traffic, she said automatically, still in the forbidden language. Somewhere deep in the station, locks shifted. Not in alarm. In recognition. The Empire panicked in the worst possible place. The Hall of Harmonies filled with officials. Priests of pure speech. Guards. Above them, the compliance grid shimmered like invisible glass. The red-sashed chief official stepped forward. This human has contaminated the station with prohibited phonemes, he declared. Murmurs spread. She must be silenced. Queen Estra stood still. Language cannot contaminate truth, she said. Unregulated language leads to chaos, the priest shouted. Mara felt fear claw at her throat. One wrong word and she would die. She looked at the Queen. Estra nodded. Speak. Mara turned to the crowd. And she told a story. In the forbidden language. Not about rebellion. About memory. She told of the first rulers who built the station. Of how they designed the core interface to ensure that no throne could lie without consequence. She told how meaning was layered so deeply that no simple filter could erase it. The compliance grid flickered. It tried to translate. It failed. Screens across the hall lit up. Sealed records began unlocking. Redacted wars. Hidden treaties. Erased names. Truth poured into the air. Gasps rose. Shut it down, the chief official screamed. But the system was not obeying him. It was listening to her. The priest shouted prayers. The guards hesitated. Then something unexpected happened. The High Translator stepped forward. His hands trembled. He lifted his baton. And instead of silencing her, he spoke. In the forbidden language. Badly. Clumsy grammar. Wrong accent. But real. If meaning must be regulated, he said shakily, why does it keep escaping? Silence. Then. Laughter. Soft at first. Then spreading. The compliance grid flickered violently. It did not know what to do with unapproved laughter. Queen Estra stepped forward. She spoke in the forbidden language. Her pronunciation imperfect. But brave. The grid collapsed. Not in explosion. In surrender. The invisible pressure lifted. For the first time in centuries, speech belonged to the people. Days later, the Hall of Harmonies felt different. Messy. Alive. People argued. Some wept over truths they had never been allowed to know. The priests debated instead of dictating. The High Translator found Mara in the archive corridor. "I used to translate cages," he said quietly. "Now I translate people." "You'll hate it," Mara replied. "People misuse commas." He smiled. "So does freedom." At the docking bay, Queen Estra waited. "You came as a specialist," she said. "You leave as a revolution." "I didn't mean to overthrow anything," Mara said. "You didn't," the Queen replied. "You reminded the station what it was built to protect." "And what's that?" Estra's inner eyelid flickered softly. "Truth." Mara stepped into her shuttle. As it drifted away, her implant chimed again. The message had changed. "Welcome, visitor. All speech is yours." Mara smiled at the shrinking golden ring. Humanity had no armies here. No fleets. No power. Only language. And sometimes, that was enough. The first riot did not begin with fire. It began with a question. 3 days after the compliance grid fell, a factory worker in the lower transit ring asked a simple thing during a public forum. Why were we told the outer colonies failed because they were weak, when the archives say they were starved? No one arrested him. That was new. Instead, the question hung in the air, heavy and bright, like a light turned on in a room that had been dark for too long. Mara watched it unfold from a public broadcast screen in the archive corridor. She had planned to leave immediately after the Hall of Harmonies incident. She had not left. Because the station kept speaking. Not loudly, but constantly. Unlocked vaults continued releasing sealed records. The core interface pulsed at irregular intervals, almost like it was breathing. And each time it did, more truth slipped free. The Empire had built the station to regulate meaning. But it had forgotten something important. Meaning changes. Mara stood inside the core chamber again. The ancient console glowed softly when she entered. "You are still here," the station's voice said in the forbidden tongue. "You noticed," she replied. "I'm not blind." She folded her arms. "You caused a bit of chaos." "I restored memory." "That tends to cause chaos." A faint harmonic hum passed through the walls. If the station could smile, it would sound like that. "The throne was designed to answer to truth," the voice continued. "The compliance grid was added later. By rulers who feared truth." "Yes." Mara exhaled slowly. "They're not going to accept this quietly." "Acceptance is not required," the station replied calmly. "Recognition is." Above, in the Hall of Harmonies, Queen Estra faced the Imperial Council. They stood in red and silver robes, no longer perfectly aligned. They argued openly now. "You have destabilized centuries of order," the chief official snapped. "I have stabilized truth," Estra answered. "The colonies will revolt." "They already were," she said. "We just silenced them." The priest of pure speech stepped forward. "Language must have walls." "Then build better arguments," Estra replied. The chamber murmured. For the first time, fear did not win automatically. But fear did not disappear either. That night, the first real act of resistance happened. Not from citizens. From the military. A squad of elite Imperial guards sealed off the archive sector. Their armor gleamed under corridor lights. Their commander, General Cale Ryden, stood tall and silent. He had not spoken publicly since the grid collapse. Now he did. "The station is compromised," he announced over internal channels. "The core must be isolated." Mara heard the alert through her implant. Security lockdown initiated. Archive sector restricted. She ran. Not away. Toward the core. When she entered the chamber, the console glowed brighter. "Military presence detected," the station informed her. "Can they shut you down?" she asked. "They can damage this interface," it said. "They cannot erase what has already been remembered." Footsteps echoed outside the door. General Ryden entered, flanked by soldiers. He was human. That surprised her. Broad shoulders. Hard eyes. "You should not be here," he told her evenly. "I work here," she replied. "You destabilized the Empire." "I destabilized a lie." He did not react. "You are not a citizen," he said. "This is not your war." Mara looked at him carefully. "I didn't come for war." "Then leave." She shook her head. "Not until I understand something." His jaw tightened. "Understand what?" "Why you're afraid of words." Silence. The soldiers shifted slightly. Raiden stepped closer. "Words move people," he said. "People move systems. Systems collapse." "And what happens when systems deserve to collapse?" she asked. His eyes flickered, just for a second. Then the station spoke. Not through speakers. Through the walls. "General Kale Raiden," it said in the forbidden language. His body went rigid. He understood it. Mara saw it in his face. "You were trained in this language," she said softly. "Stop," he warned the station. "You swore an oath at age 17, the voice continued. "An oath embedded in layered syntax. You swore to defend truth above command." Raiden's hand tightened on his weapon. "That oath was ceremonial," he said. "It was binding," the station replied. The soldiers looked uncertain now. Mara stepped forward carefully. "You don't hate truth," she said. "You hate instability." He did not answer. "You think people will tear everything apart." "They will," he said quietly. "Maybe," she admitted. "But maybe they'll rebuild something better." That is optimism. That is history. He hesitated. Outside the chamber, distant voices rose, not in violence, but in debate. Citizens arguing policy openly. Workers demanding representation. Scholars presenting newly uncovered records. It was messy. It was loud. It was alive. Raiden lowered his weapon slightly. "You are asking me to gamble the Empire." "No," Mara said gently. "I'm asking you to trust it." The gamble came sooner than expected. A breakaway faction of council members attempted to reactivate a secondary compliance system hidden in the lower engineering decks. It was smaller, cruder, designed as a backup in case the main grid failed. It would not restore full control, but it would silence key broadcasts. Queen Estra received the alert first. She did not send soldiers. She sent a public message. To everyone. The Empire was not built on silence, she declared across open channels. It was built on shared purpose. If you restore suppression now, you admit you do not trust your own people. Her voice carried without filtering. No algorithm softened it. The citizens heard her, truly heard her, for the first time. General Raiden heard her too. He stood in the core chamber, silent. Then he gave an order. "Stand down," he told his soldiers. They obeyed. Instead of protecting the backup grid, he moved to secure it. Not to activate. To prevent activation. When council loyalists arrived, they found the military blocking their path. "You betray your oath," the chief official shouted at Raiden. Raiden's voice was steady. "I'm honoring it." The confrontation lasted 6 tense hours. No shots were fired. No one died. But something far more dangerous happened. The council members lost. Not by force. By refusal. Soldiers refused to enforce silence. Technicians refused to reboot suppression systems. Citizens refused to look away. By morning, the backup grid was dismantled. Piece by piece. Publicly. Broadcast live. The Empire watched its own chains being taken apart. Later, Mara returned to the core alone. "You altered probability," the station said. "I told a story," she replied. "Stories alter probability." She smiled faintly. "Are you satisfied?" "I am functioning as designed," it answered. "Which is?" "To prevent permanent deception." She leaned against the console. "Why humans?" she asked suddenly. "Why could I speak your language so easily?" There was a pause. Longer than before. "Your species preserved fragments," the station said slowly. Before first contact. Before the Empire expanded. Mara's breath caught. Fragments of what? Of us. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as if the station were thinking. The first rulers feared eventual corruption, it continued. They seeded the language in distant civilizations. A failsafe. If suppression ever grew absolute, outsiders would carry the key. Mara stared at the glowing grooves in the door. You planted it. Yes. In humanity. Yes. She laughed softly. We thought we invented it. You rediscovered it, the station corrected. And now? Now you decide what to do with it. Weeks passed. The Empire did not collapse. It transformed. Painfully. Public debates replaced silent decrees. Former priests became historians. The High Translator began teaching forbidden grammar openly. Queen Estra created a new position, Speaker of Memory, responsible for ensuring archives could never again be sealed without public vote. General Ryden oversaw military reform, transparency policies, civil oversight. He visited Mara once before she finally prepared to leave. You were right, he admitted quietly. It did not end in fire. Most change doesn't, she said. It just feels like it might. He nodded. You could stay. She considered it. But she shook her head. No. This was never mine to lead. Then why help? She smiled slightly. Because someone once hid truth from my world too. He understood that answer without further explanation. At the docking bay, Queen Estra waited again. But this time, no guards stood nearby. No drones hovered overhead. Only stars beyond the viewport. You altered history, Estra said. No, Mara replied. History was always there. The Queen's inner eyelid flickered thoughtfully. Will humanity use this language against us one day? Mara stepped into her shuttle. Only if you deserve it. Estra did not smile. But she did not argue. As the shuttle drifted away from the Imperial Ring, Mara looked back at the golden structure. It was not perfect anymore. Construction beams moved along its outer rim, modifying old control arrays into open transmission towers. Light patterns changed. Less rigid. More alive. Her implant chimed. For a moment she worried the old compliance message had returned. But instead, a new broadcast echoed across open space. From the core. From the station itself. In the forbidden language. Then translated freely into all living tongues. Memory does not weaken power. It refines it. Mara leaned back in her seat. Humanity had not conquered an empire. It had not fired a single shot. It had spoken. And the universe had listened. As the stars stretched into lines and her shuttle entered warp, she whispered one last phrase in the ancient tongue. Not a command. Not a warning. Just a promise. We're not done learning. Far behind her, inside the core chamber, the station's harmonic hum shifted slightly. Almost like laughter. And across the empire, children began learning a language that folded meaning inside meaning, not to control it, but to understand it. Freedom had learned to speak. And it had found its voice.